Oh, boys. We made it back from Miami. I had to do the video first thing I get back home. Bro. So, bro, on the drive, it took like 8. We left at 12, so it took about 8 hours to get back, but we stopped in, we had to stop at my parents' house to go pick up Willow. But, bro, I'm like, I was trying to make Julianne I was like, bro, let's just listen to Mr. Morale, the Big Stepper, Kendrick Lamar's album. And, because I hadn't really, I listened to it front to back, but not like in a serious way where like I'm going to really sit here and digest this. And bro, we're listening to this album. And wow, what an album. Like it's an art form. It's not like, you know, there's things for everyone in this world, you know, if you want, like obviously Kendrick has like, you know, for fun music and dance music and unserious music, but he has range, right? And bro, let me tell you this song that I'm thinking about. I started crying. Oh, I cried at a couple songs, but let me see what the, where his album's at. Oh yeah, so we cry together. Okay, we cry together. I started crying, and if you guys don't know, it's a song where essentially him and someone else are fighting, like Kendrick and another person and a woman in a relationship. They're fighting, and it's like more so representative of like anyone could relate to this type of fight, and it's like this fight ended in but it was more so like. I'm like, this guy is such a theater kid, but like, it was like first time in a song where you're like, this is a play, like this is a whole play, and the like the raspiness in the woman's voice, right? Because you know, it almost is like, man, they must have had this fight so many times, and in the way that it was like, you know, Kendrick would get under her skin, and then she would get under his skin, and then it became about who can hurt each other the most, and then you know, getting making amends afterwards through having like sex or whatever, right? But it was the raw emotions of just being like F you, you know, you wanted this or you know, and then her essentially being like saying that he's the reason for like R. Kelly and Donald Trump and Harvey Weinstein, but not in the sense of like she's blaming him personally. It's more so like he is a personification. He's being a personification of the male archetype of like toxic masculinity, of I don't need no therapy, of like, you know, the objectification of woman and just like the toxic masculinity in general. And then he points to her and is like, well, you're a fake feminist, you know, you still bump R. Kelly, you know, the biggest enemy of women is women, because or like the biggest haters of women are women, and like, you know, when do you see women collabing with each other on music and oh, when your best friend got like a boy, like a new man, you didn't talk to her, right? It's like no one hates a woman more than women, and then so it's like both people have points and they're both correct in a way, and they're both personifying different ends of the spectrum or different views, and it's like, and they're clashing, and it's just like this beautiful thing. And I was like, man, I don't know, it was just like really, it was like, man, this fight, there's just so much raw emotion in this fight. And I also love the song The Crown, where he's like essentially being like, you know, the crown is heavy. Like he's talking about, you know, but he chose that. And for a while, people were, you know, saying Kendrick has some sort of savior. He had this savior complex to him. Yeah, I'm gonna go save the people, and that's why Drake kind of said that. Drake said that line in the diss track in Family Matters, like, you rap like you're trying to free the slaves. It's like, is poking fun at that type of savior complex, like Kendrick, you know, and you know, Kendrick wears the crown of thorns and things like that. But what he's saying is like, yeah. He's not a savior. It's almost like he's self, like this whole album was him just being like really having a ton of self reflection and admitting all of his wrongs and essentially like I'm not your savior. Future's not your savior. I'm not your savior. J. Cole's not your savior. LeBron is not your savior, right? But at the same time admitting that he, like in Purple Hearts, like, what do you sacrifice for love? And he's willing to be a stepping stone for his people to kind of, or like his children to be better than him, to have higher valleys and or lower valleys and higher highs, right? And essentially being a martyr, like he's like, I can't please everyone, and he understands that, but at the same time he wants to be like some sort of martyr, and that's why he wears the crown of thorns, like Jesus, right? But not even like, it can be in a biblical sense, but in a not so much biblical sense, more so like in the sense that Jesus was like, this person that was looking out for marginalized groups. He was this person that like helping the people out with leprosy, helping the poor, helping the blind, helping the illegal immigrants, right? Like Jesus is this person that brought light to, him and his disciples brought light to and took care of those in need, and Kendrick's kind of doing the same in his own way, but also admitting in this album that he is not, he's just a dude, bro. He's just a dude. And it's also like during the song where they're arguing, We Cry Together, it's like, I also cry because how much vulnerability does that take as a man to kind of go out here and make this song about you arguing with a woman and showing kind of the raw, nasty part of you, right? And like vulnerability to even have this conversation. And this whole album is just like the vulnerability to like the first, a lot of the songs were talking like kind of directly to his wife, Whitney, and being like, I think it was in the song Savior maybe. There's a couple songs where it's kind of like, he's admitting like, oh, what did he say? Essentially, he's just asking for, like, is it too late? Like, is it too late to be forgiven, right? And how much more can she take, right? And talking about his infidelity issues and things like that. And I'm like, dude, respect, bro. Because other rappers are glorifying infidelity, and it's almost like a call sign for, and an accolade, right, is to have all these baby mamas and to be a man who can have multiple women and so, but he's like, no, bro, he's like apologizing so deeply to her and to himself, and I don't know, it was just like, it was a very touching album, and then at the end, like the last song, My Heart Part 5, where he's essentially telling he's saying what the culture is, and he's like, the culture is essentially like, what's the word? Like the culture is essentially the culture is the culture cannibalizing itself. The culture is like the black community like cannibalizing itself. Like he's talking about his friend who came, he knew a guy who was in prison for 17 years, and he came out and he went to go buy some weed, and he like got shot, right? It's like, or just like little kids, like kids interacting with this and seeing this, and just the plight of like, the culture is cannibal. It's like your self is self-destruction, or destruction of a whole community. That is what the culture, and he's trying to be like, no, we got to go past that. Like, I want my sons to, be better than me, and everyone should be better than me. And he's trying to set the stage for the community to be better than he could ever, right? And it's just like profound. So let me see if there's any other songs that really. Oh, Worldwide Steppers, bro. This song is insane. He's essentially saying that everyone's a murderer. Even the noble man who just goes to work and goes to church and comes, that man is a murderer. And he's saying that person's a murderer, but it's more like a slow burn. And you could take this in many ways, where like the guy who just works the 9 to 5 and comes home, it's like he's a murderer of himself, right? Because it's like, and he talks about religion. He talks about how media is the new religion, because as you start to subscribe to the Democrat or the Republican or these values, you lose yourself, because you sacrifice all your individuality to become part of the group, and so you kill yourself, right? And then because you're sacrificing to a group with certain values who goes against the other group, you're now going out and killing others in a very spiritual sense, where like you're demeaning them, you're belittling people, and so everyone has blood on their hands essentially. And I'm like, that's so profound, bro. That's the most profound thing ever. So I don't know, dude. Kendrick's fire. I love that guy. And then just I've attempted to listen to this album like many times. And I'm talking about Mac Miller's Balloonerism. I've tried to listen to it. Mac is my favorite artist of all time. He's like, I have tattoos. I literally, I don't know if you guys can see, but on my leg I have a tattoo of the Divine Feminine album inside of like a butterfly. I have a tattoo. I have like self-care written on my thigh. I have a Memento Mori written. Like, that's my guy. And I've had trouble trying to listen to Balloonerism. Not because it's bad, it's just like very dark material. And so me, like on the way back on this final, I got up to Rick's piano, right? And Julianne was like, we got to what was that song? We got to Funny Papers, right? And she was like, I really like this song. That was like the first song I liked. I don't think I liked the other ones yet. It doesn't really make sense. Like, it doesn't seem like he's talking about anything. And after we got to Rick's piano, I was like talking to her. I was like, I don't think you're supposed to like. Or no, we were listening to. Let me see. Oh, Transformations, right? And at the end of Transformations, I was like, I don't think you're supposed to like these songs. That's not the point at all. These songs actually should like disgust you and like, or not disgust you, but make you feel heavy-hearted, or there's just a ton of melancholy. And like, dude, I started crying super badly at Mannequins and Rick's piano and Transformations, because it's like, it's almost like you're listening to this guy, you're listening to Mac, except that it's like his death will be inevitable, and like his early death will be inevitable. And even in Rick's piano, it's like he's battling between, he's saying like, he's like, looking forward to the future, but at the same time he's like saying, I wonder what death feels like. And it's like good things are to come, but at the same time, I don't know if I can wait for that. Like, I want death. And a lot of these songs are about his drug addiction, about pills popping, about, and there's the tambourine in almost every, song, and there's then the organ, and then there's the harp, and it's like the song Transformations almost sounds like internal monologue. Like there's all these voices going on. There's like his childhood, like this child voice of him rapping. There's this other voice telling him what to do. Then there's like the sound of like a lighter like repeatedly clicking, and it's like, it's not that you're watching someone go into insanity like Dostoevsky or something like that. It's more so you're watching someone enter the final stage of addiction, which is like, there's no coming back from it. Like this person will die, and just him talking about the 27, dying at the 27th club. Like, it's a really eerie. I just couldn't stop crying, because it's like that's my guy, and it's just like, how much pain do you have to be in? First of all, it's like, yeah, okay. A lot of times, like geniuses or creative geniuses are like extremely depressed, right? And it's like, he was in this album. You're able to kind of feel like the way he created these songs is like how he wants you to feel, to understand how he's feeling, and like you just feel very heavy-hearted. And I knew a couple of like album reviewers weren't able to finish the album because they were like, this album, one guy was like, this album is doing, I can't finish it because this album is doing exactly what it should be doing, and this album is doing exactly what it wants to do, and it's doing it in the best way possible, which is why I can't continue, because it's like you're just listening to this dude lose to addiction and kind of become infatuated with death, and talking about how God is essentially like, the principal at school ringing the bell. When the bell rings, it's like knowing when that is your time to go, like it's your time to leave. And and talking about like maybe tomorrow I'll die. Like just becoming so comfortable with death that he's almost like manifesting it, like where he's almost like he's so focused on death that there was nothing else to happen but for it to come, and so it's a really tough. How many songs were left? Oh, I only have 2 songs. I have Rick's Piano and Tomorrow We'll Never Know. Well, I listen to most of Rick's Piano, and it's like, oh man, like if anyone's ever been depressed and you listen to this album, you know exactly what he's talking about. And maybe I wasn't at the point where I'm like, I never got to the point where it was death was the only option. But I mean, I definitely got to a point where I was having some ideations and maybe some slight attempts, right? But this is like, the lowest, like the most intense form of depression and drug addiction. And Julianne's point was like, do you think that this is like what is the point of this album? Like, is he glorifying addiction? Is he saying it's okay to kill yourself? Like is that what he's trying to say? Like if someone that was really depressed listens to this album, would they take it as oh okay, it's fine to go, right? And if so, do you think death is like when Julianne's like, do you think death is a mercy? Like does God look down upon those who end their lives early, or like them dying? It was like they were always gonna die at that point, no matter what. Like that, God knows that was their timeline, and right. And I don't know. I told her, I was like, I don't think it's glorifying it. I mean, it's like, the tough reality of depression is that it doesn't always end with you getting better. A lot of times it ends with people dying and taking their own life, and he's showing that reality, like, and it's super dark, right? But he's showing that reality, and I don't think God's gonna be upset with him. I mean, if he gets to heaven, right, and he sees God, I think God would caress him like a child and be like, it's okay, son, like, I'm here for you. And I don't know, it was just it was a tough listen. I don't know, I'm glad I listened to it, and Julian didn't know too much about him, but I'm like, dude, even right, like, the last album he that was released before his death was Self-Care, I'm pretty sure. Because Circles came out after he died, but Self-Care, like, the album cover is literally him in a coffin, sitting in a coffin. And the music video from that album is the Self-Care music video. Or, sorry, Swimming Pools is the album, but Self-Care, the song, music video is like literally like him being buried alive in a coffin, and him writing on the coffin like Memento Mori, which is like remembrance of death. And it's like how long was this guy towing the line between life and death? And it seemed like he had been towing that line for a while until he eventually fell over to the side of death. But it was really dark. Other than that, that's all I really say today. Dude, I think today marks a month. This is the 30th video. We made it a month, easy money. And we keep going. But anyways, y'all, I want to just like head to bed. I'm so tired. Guys, girls, gays, queers, they, them, these are any, all, everyone and anyone. Have a great rest of your night. I'll catch you guys on a beautiful Tuesday. And toodaloo.